following the Golden State Warriors' 119-115 loss to the Denver Nuggets on TNT, Inside the NBA had a couple words to say about it, and Chuck Barkley, yes, Sir Charles, he had some choice words about your Golden State Warriors. We're going to unpack that and a whole lot more on today's show. But before we do, guys, December's here. The holiday season's approaching. And you know what? I said I'll declare holiday warfare on Celtics today and Knicks now here at Chat Sports in a December sub-battle. And guess what? We're already out to a pretty hot start. Up by 27 right now, but we can't stop here. Got to keep subbing to the channel. Keep joining us for your constant Golden State Warriors content all season long. Keep in mind, these guys go live a lot more than we do on the channel, so they're going to get these numbers up. We got to keep pace. Subscribe to the channel. What's going on, Dub Nation? You're watching Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Tyler Smith, and on today's show, Charles Barkley sounds off. In my opinion, kind of ripped the Golden State Warriors after their 119-115 loss to Denver last night on Inside the NBA. And let's just get into the quote. This is what Charles had to say about the current state of the Warriors and overall their ceiling this NBA season. He says, yeah, they're a fun little team to watch. Kind of a backhanded compliment there. When they're making threes, they're tough to beat. But I told you, I don't believe in the Warriors. But they're cute. They're fun to watch. I just don't believe they have enough talent. They got a bunch of Jags. They got Steph and a bunch of Jags. Just guys. They don't have enough star power. I wonder who said that before. Not only has he said that this season, not only has he said that in the summer. Oh, yeah, I said that! All offseason long, they didn't have enough star power. They let Clay go. They replaced him with D'Anthony Melton and Buddy Hield. Now, D'Anthony Melton's out for the whole season, so you don't really have that platoon of shooting guards together to replace the production that Klay Thompson was giving you for so many seasons in Golden State. And now, in my opinion, me and Charles are thinking the same. At this point, Golden State does not have the star power necessary to go out and win an NBA championship. But I think most Golden State Warriors fans have come to that realization as well as they lose 5 straight games here to starting the season 12-3. I think most fans are realizing that that was more of an anomaly to start the season, and this is the team that we're going to be more accustomed to for the remaining, 70 or so games, 60 or so games left in the season. I mean, over the last 5 minutes of the game, in a game where Stephen Curry isn't shooting his best, and you know what? Sometimes your best player, sometimes your star isn't going to have the best night shooting the basketball. Steph affected the game in so many other areas as well, but Golden State, as a team, scored 6 points in the final 5 minutes against the Denver Nuggets last night. That is unacceptable. They let Denver go on an 11-0 run to close the game, and overall, over the last 5 minutes, a 21-6 run to finish the game for Denver. It's unacceptable, and you know what? When Steph's shot's not falling, you have to be able to call upon somebody else. Andrew Wiggins wasn't really there. And you know what? At the end of the game, the Golden State, they did have an opportunity to maybe get a chance to, maybe tie this game, right? Christian Brown dives on the floor, calls timeout, signals to the referee that he wants a timeout. Denver doesn't have any, but they end up calling it a jump ball. That's why Steve Kerr was all furious. But I can't get mad about that. When you let up a 21-6 run to lose the game, you can't complain about the last possession when there's a scramble for the basketball out near midcourt and you're complaining for a guy to get a technical on a called timeout. I cannot complain about that when you don't score the last 11 points of the game. You don't answer Denver's 11 last points of the entire matchup. I can't complain about that. Golden State has a much bigger problem here, and not only does it reside in the front court, but it also resides in the secondary scoring aspect of things. Because as of right now, this is your big 3 for Golden State, and one of these 3 guys is not a scorer. The other one, Andrew Wiggins, he didn't look to shoot the ball at all yesterday in the second half. He went totally dormant. He was awful. Not a good performance. You know what, Steph? With what he has to do with his age and conserving himself, for when Golden State potentially wants to make a playoff push here, hopefully they make a playoff push, Steph's not going to be playing as many minutes. Last night he played a ton of minutes, didn't shoot the ball all that well, and there were no reinforcements. Obviously, you're missing Draymond Green. He missed his first game of the season last night. But the numbers that you're getting from these guys, I cannot complain too much. Just Andrew Wiggins, please be a little bit more aggressive when you see that other players' shots are not falling on the roster. You're the second best offensive player. Act like it. And that's kind of my whole point here, right? When those other guys are taking the bulk of the shots and playing the bulk of the minutes while Steph's on the floor, bad things happen. They play sloppier. They turn the ball over more. They can't hit a 3 to save their lives. The floor isn't really spaced well, and however you kind of want to slice it. And you need Steph out there, but he can't play all 48 minutes. He's 36 years old. He's carrying the weight of this franchise on his shoulders, and Golden State has to get it from somebody else. And here's a list of the guys who I think Chuck was kind of referring to last night when he said it's Steph and a bunch of Jags. Buddy Hield. Yeah, you might see those numbers on your screen, 43% from 3, 15 points a night, and be like, wow, yeah, Buddy Hield's having a good season. Buddy Hield hasn't shown up since the first 10 games of the year. He's kind of been half and half. Back when Golden State started out 12-3, I think Buddy Hield was averaging 18, 19 points a game on like 45 or 47% from three-point range. Now, those numbers aren't sustainable. These numbers are very, very good if he held them for an entire season. But over the past 10 games or so, the guy's shooting, he can't find the net. He cannot find buckets, and that needs to change because Golden State isn't always as spaced out as they maybe have liked to be as they face injuries and Draymond's out and D'Anthony Melton's out for the year. Buddy Hield's got to continue to step up. Kuminga's the biggest disappointment of the season. I know he had a good game last night, but I got to see it for more than one. I got to see it for more than one 19-point performance, man. Like, he was supposed to be tasked with earning himself a big-time contract this season, and it doesn't look like he's going to earn that right now. Nothing close to the $150 million, let alone the $175 that he was willing to negotiate with Golden State for. Brandin Podziemski, he can't score the basketball. 20% from three is actually atrocious. Like, what is wrong with this guy? He has no ability to score the basketball outside of that mid-range, outside of the float game. And, he's really not a floor spacer at this point either. I almost hold my breath when Brandin Podziemski shoots from outside. Moses Moody, I mean, numbers are fine-ish. Are they? I don't know. He just got paid $13 million a season for the next 3 years. You pay the guy to play the guy, and he hasn't really played all that well. A couple of big-time moments, and Steve Kerr trusted him down the stretch last night. I can live with that. And then Kyle Anderson, he's been a non-factor offensively. I mean, a move over a little bit here, 27.3% from deep. He was supposed to be a floor spacer. He hit shots at a really high clip during his time in Minnesota. Hasn't been there for the Warriors. And hey, honestly, even inside the arc, Kyle Anderson has not been able to buy a bucket. My whole point is this. Golden State clearly has to make a trade at some point this season. I think we're past the point of we can wait on these guys to develop. We can trust in our young players to turn it around as the season goes on. It's a long season. Yeah, I know it's a long season. Golden State's already lost 5 games in a row. There clearly has to be a change on this roster in some capacity that not only trims the rotation, so Steve Kerr's not playing 11, 12, 13 guys a night, but also addresses the holes they have, which is secondary scoring and a big body in the paint. Are you going to find those guys in one player? You could, but I also don't know a ton of players that are out there right now begging to be traded. I do also know that a lot of those players that we just talked about right there, their trade values have incredibly decreased since the summer when they were being dangled for Lauri Markkanen and Paul George. Those guys don't have the value they do anymore. We're talking about trading Jonathan Kuminga for Cam Johnson when they wouldn't trade him for Paul George in June. Like, there is a clear drop-off for some of these guys, and I'm sure that Golden State is kind of kicking themselves for not making that deal over the summer, and they live with the consequences now where there might not be a possible trade partner anytime soon. But if there is, we'll let you know. Name me a player, though, who Golden State should trade for. Who's your guy? If there's a player out there that might request a trade, or even a guy who's not necessarily requesting a trade, and Golden State could go out there and poach, let me know who your number one Golden State Warriors trade target is down in the comments section. I'll say this. I don't really have a name right now. Maybe Cam Johnson is the guy that keeps circling my brain, but there hasn't been any concrete rumors over the past couple of weeks. They had reported interest in the summer, but at the end of the day, none of this matters if you don't have Draymond. Draymond missed his first game of the season last night, and boy, was Golden State made aware of that by the performance of Nikola Jokic and the lack of the performance from Kevon Looney and TJD on the interior. We're going to talk about Draymond Green up next, a Draymond Green injury update. Plus, I'm just going to kind of shit talk Brandin Podziemski some more because Steve Kerr did last night, so might as well regurgitate that information and give my take on it. That's all up next, but first, I got to give a major shout out to today's sponsor, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform. It's my favorite daily fantasy sports platform. I was a customer even before they were a sponsor here at Chat Sports. It's so easy to play, and you guys can get hooked up with a free $50 in your account when you download the PrizePicks app and use our promo code CLNS. Place your first $5 entry. You might be asking, how do you even place an entry on PrizePicks? So simple. All you guys got to do is pick a lineup of 2 to 6 player stat projections and just pick more or less in those stat projections. So many sports, so many stat categories. It's so easy to win on PrizePicks and so easy to place your entries. You can win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. As far as the PrizePicks that I have, it's so fun because they can actually give you season-long projections before the season starts. So I'm following this one all season long. Stephen Curry, more than 26.5 points per game. If Golden State wants to win more games, he's going to have to get more buckets and kind of get a little bit more than the 22.8 he's averaging right now. Zachary Zache, #1 pick in the draft. I thought it was a reach, so I took the less than 10.3 points per game. It's at 11.6 right now. Still time for him to have a little bit of a slump. And then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been going off. I think he's actually already above 30.5 points per game for the OKC Thunder this year. You can tail my picks. You can fade my picks. Just go and do it at PrizePicks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Download the PrizePicks app and use that promo code CLNS to get $50 in your account for free when you place your first $5 entry. You don't need to win to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks. Run your game. So, according to Anthony Slater, according to Steve Kerr, according to the Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green is going to undergo a MRI on his left calf after they return from Denver to the Bay Area today. And that's honestly unfortunate because I didn't think we were going to get to that point of having an MRI and having to further examine this thing down the line. But at the same time, it is a good thing that Golden State is being prepared and they are taking caution with this injury. Anthony Slater reported that Golden State has to be careful, and they're going to be careful with Draymond because they know the impact that he has out there on the floor. One of the most impactful defenders on this team. I'd say he's by far the most impactful defender on this team. One of the most impactful in the NBA. And Draymond, getting up there in age, he's kind of dealing with some injuries that he is accustomed to, something he's familiar with back to the 2022 season. And he missed three months after suffering that injury. He doesn't want that same fate this year, so they're taking caution. They're getting after it early. Here's what he had to say about the injury. He said, over the last few games, I've been a bit beat up, but still feeling healthy enough to get out there on the floor and try to help my team. I started to get this calf tightening in my left calf. In 2022, leading up to those 3 missed months, those were games where I felt my glute was really tight. He said it would loosen up a bit, then come right back. And I'm like, oh, that's a symptom because I've been playing games. And I didn't know what I was up against. So this time, some of the symptoms that I felt, I'm able to better navigate and knowing, all right, you felt this, you may need to slow down. I get it. I get it. Draymond, you probably cannot lose, though, for an extended period of time. If it's a 3-4 game stretch here, listen, he's played every game so far before last night. 18 games played, and he's been an absolute stat sheet stuffer for Golden State. But you cannot have Draymond out for an extended period of time because last night we saw that they got bullied on the inside. They don't have the depth in the front court that's able to compete with the likes of a Nikola Jokic, the likes of an Anthony Davis, even some other bigs in the Western Conference that are skilled offensively. Like, you're not going to be able to compete with those guys. Sabonis is another guy who gets buckets down there. Like, there's competing bigs out here that you're going to have to play against, and Draymond's going to have to be healthy to match up against those guys. Here's what he's done so far this season. Obviously, you know that he's not going to be the go-to scorer for Golden State, but he is shooting super efficiently. We had those numbers on screen earlier, but as far as the rest of the stat sheet that he stuffs on a daily basis, 6.5 boards, 6 assists, a steal and a block every single night, like, he's making an impact and continues to make winning plays for Golden State day in and day out. Like, he's one of these guys where you don't really feel the impact of Draymond Green until the final score is up and, Golden State came out with the win. And he makes those diving plays. He's playing with a ton of effort right now. He's diving out of bounds for loose balls, saving them and getting the Golden State Warriors out in transition. Like, he is invaluable to this team with how high of a motor that he plays with and how high of a defensive IQ he has against players who are, let's be honest, way bigger than the guy. He's built at 6'6", and he can defend some of the biggest players in this NBA while also switching on to elite wings and guards. He is a one-of-a-kind player, and Golden State needs him in the lineup. And it is scary for me because I think Draymond is a little scared. Here's what he had to say about the severity of this injury and how he's feeling about it. He said, I'll be 100% honest. He's talking to, I believe Gilbert Arenas is when he says this, or yeah, somebody else. But I'm a little afraid. But in saying that, I have confidence in our staff. I have confidence that I'm getting ahead of it right now because the smart thing to do is catch it right now while I'm already getting these symptoms. And I'm all on board with that. Like I said, you cannot lose Draymond Green for a 3-month period like he did in 2022. Because when it came time for the 2022 NBA Finals, if you guys don't remember, like, Draymond wasn't the most efficient and effective version of himself that we're even seeing, through the first 20 games of this season. He wasn't as good back then because he was, kind of harbored down by that calf injury. We don't want that to linger. We don't want that to get worse, and Draymond Green to be out there on the floor as much as possible for Golden State because at the end of the day, he's probably the winningest player on this roster. So with that being said, he's too valuable to this roster. So I need everybody in the comment section to show some love to Draymond Green. Type your 23s down in the comments section. I want to see it flooded with 23s. We don't give enough love to Draymond. He's the unsung hero, and we need to show him some more love. Type those 23s down below. Lastly, like I said before, I'm going to kind of dig into Brandin Podziemski a little bit. The value they placed on this guy during the summer is that they wouldn't trade him for Lauri Markkanen. Now, has Lauri Markkanen had the best season so far this year? No. But would he fit and probably be playing better in the Warriors system? A team that's actively not trying to tank? Probably. But beside of all that, we have Brandin Podziemski on the team now. Dug our grave. We got to lay in it. Versus Denver last night. 6 of 10 from the field. Started out pretty hot, actually. He was scoring from the mid-range. He was getting floaters. He was playing solid, getting the ball to Jonathan Kuminga down low, who also had a hot start to the game. But, again, can't shoot threes. Like, where did this go? He was a solid enough three-point shooter last year. Where is it gone, Brandon? I guess he hasn't really worked on that three-point game. Been working on more of the facilitation game, but he was a minus 13 last night, had 2 really impactful turnovers that led to easy buckets on both tries for the Denver Nuggets, and then he had 5 personal fouls. And what Steve Kerr was mad at the most was 2 of those fouls came on Michael Porter Jr. 3-point attempts. At the end of the day, it's just undisciplined from Brandin Podziemski, and I didn't really expect this out of him. On one of those turnovers that ended up, and remember Jokic getting wide open, he was cherry picking on the other side because Golden State had a 5-on-4, and there was no really use in Nikola Jokic coming back on defense. Brandin Podziemski could have just bounced past it to TJD for an easy dunk. He decides to try to lob pass it, and Steve Kerr called it, frankly, insane. I mean, he was not happy with Brandin Podziemski last night. He said that he has to be a smarter player. I think he is a smarter player. We've seen him entrusted with, a lot of these Team USA teammates over the summer. Cooper Flagg loved the way he played, and he gave us some good run to the Team USA team that went out there and played in Paris. Like, he's a good ball player. I just don't understand why it's not translating to the NBA game. And that's why I really cannot believe that Golden State valued him as highly as they do. They continue to value him super highly. They're putting him in the starting lineup. He's getting inserted in the absence of D'Anthony Melton. And I honestly can't believe it. I didn't see this in his rookie year. I'm not seeing it now. He's actually regressed this season. And Golden State's kind of laying in their own bed of mud now with Brandin Podziemski. Here's what Steve Kerr had to say kind of about the performance and what Poz needs to do next. He said, I love Brandin. Hell of a player. Hell of a future ahead of him. So they still believe in him. But I hope he watches this clip because he needs to hear it. He's got to be a smart, tough, great decision maker. He's very capable of it. That's his next step. And you're right, that is his next step because he's going to be playing a ton of minutes for this Golden State Warriors team. With D'Anthony Melton gone, Brandin Podziemski arguably has to rise the highest of any player that has played subpar for Golden State so far this year. They have a void at the 2 guard. Buddy Hield can't start. He cannot defend for long stretches. Brandin Podziemski, I know he might not be the best on-ball defender, but at least puts his body on the line, absorbs contact, and creates high effort and energy plays on that end of the floor. And he knows that he has to get better. He knows that he has to be a smarter basketball player. He said he got on me a little bit talking about Kerr, which I'm all for. I'm trying to get better. He knows he can get at me, and I'm not going to respond emotionally. I'm going to go out there and hoop. All right, Brandon, go out there and hoop, man. Go out there and hoop, and do it now. Do it soon, because we need it. Golden State can't score the basketball. What is hooping, Brandin Podziemski? Are you going to be knocking down jumpers at a high clip? Are you going to not be turning the ball over? Are you not going to be undisciplined and getting yourself caught in the air and getting fouls drawn on you? Play a little bit more clean. Play a little bit with a little more efficiency. Don't shoot 20% from 3 on the season. I know that clip's going to get better, but right now it's actually putrid. And I'm not too confident in Brandin Podziemski 20 games through the season. Are you guys calm or are you guys concerned like I am? What's your confidence level in Brandin Podziemski? Let me know down in the comments section. Give me scale it 1 through 10. Drop a number down there on how concerned. 1 being you're super calm. 10 being start flashing the alarms. Brandin Podziemski is a bad basketball player. We need to get him out of Golden State. Scale it for me down below 1 through 10. And that'll do it for today's edition of Golden State Warriors Today by Chat Sports. If you want to give me a follow on Twitter, here's the handle right here. It's @Smitty@CS. I'm doing the Warriors news there before we even get a video out on the channel. So if you want the first up-to-date Golden State Warriors coverage, you got to follow me right there. But also make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you don't have Twitter or X as well. We're fastly approaching 71,000 subscribers on the channel, trying to beat the other Chat Sports channels in subs this month. So with that being said, we'll see you in the next one. Let's go Dubs.